And that damn lightsaber fight on the volcano was way too long. Way
But
too
it was
long.
No.
It's the
I was
launches
like,
you
end
into
it
the
already.
Hey man, I just want to let you know that the best part of the movie was way too long.
Right, yeah, I mean,
Cut it out. Just cut it out.
All right, we are picking right back up with the second half of our bracket fight with the 32 best sci-fi film franchises. So in the part one of our last episode during this bracket, we put film franchises head-to-head, such as Jurassic Park versus RoboCop. We had Aliens versus the J.J. Abrams Star Trek film franchise, and so on and so on. So we're going to jump right back in with the rest of our film franchises. So just to recap real quick, in our part one on the left side of our bracket, we had head-to-heads that brought us to having Aliens coming head-to-head with the original Star Wars franchise, and Star Wars ended up being one of our final two film franchises. So, now, we are picking up here on the right side of our bracket with the DCEU, with films such as Man of Steel and Suicide Squad and Aquaman versus the Lord of the Rings film franchise.
so this is another top seed versus bottom seed.
Wow.
Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
I was about to say, Man of Steel takes that whole thing.
Dude, Man of Steel slaps.
Okay,
Like,
Man
for
of Steel
real.
and Wonder Woman. Both of those were really good.
I enjoy both of those, but when you put them up against the Lord of the Rings, it's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings.
like I wish it could have been paired against something else to start out with, just so it could have made it past the first round. But
Mhm.
I mean, like Lord of the Rings is better. It is.
Yeah.
Sorry, Henry Cavill.
All right, Lord
Wasn't
of
his
the Rings it
fault.
is.
Wasn't his
No,
fault.
it was not Henry's fault. No.
All right, now we have the rebooted Planet of the Apes franchise with films such as Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War of the Planet of the Apes versus the, I don't know what you call this franchise, the Split franchise, the Unbreakable franchise, the M. Night Shyamalan Glass franchise. I don't even know what you would call it, but
Unbreakable. I don't know what you call it. That franchise.
that franchise, yes.
Right.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, Planet of the Apes. Maybe.
Yeah, I
I've
wish
seen none of
Glass
those,
was better.
so-
Glass was so weird.
It was.
Split was amazing. Unbreakable was good. Glass was weird.
You like Split more than Unbreakable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, when the biggest thing about your franchise is the twist where you find out it's a franchise,
Mm-hmm.
like after you get over that, it's kind of like, well, okay, cool.
Okay. I had no desire to see the new Planet of the Apes. I don't know why. And whenever Glass and all that came out, I was like,
special effects, you'd love it.
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, it's really good.
I'll have to
Yeah,
You
look
should
it's
at
watch
really
it
it.
good.
literally just to watch it. Yeah.
Okay. I will
It's
do
also
so.
really well done too. The stories are really well.
And
I-
Andy
I
I don't know. I was
Serkis.
just so
Andy
worried.
Serkis.
I was so worried it would be bad. I think that's why I didn't watch it, because I was so worried.
It's one of the rare franchises that also just gets better the longer it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one can get cheesy, but it ends pretty well.
Okay. I will
But
watch
it also has enough good moments in it that it's just kind of like, okay, this is good.
Right.
So yeah, no, do it. Do
Okay.
it.
I
Do it.
will. I will add it to my list.
All right. So now our next head-to-head is the 2001 Space Odyssey versus, what is that? Star Trek? Star Trek.
Star Trek.
All of the original Star Trek films.
Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Star
I
Trek.
mean, yeah, you got to go Star Trek, right?
Star
Yeah.
Trek.
I mean,
Star
Oh
Trek.
my god! I think I know where this is going for the final.
yeah, yeah. But we'll see. We'll see. There might be an upset. There might be an upset.
This is must YouTube viewing right here.
All right. Now we have Tron versus Men in Black.
Tron.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Is
Men
that
in
your
Black
vote?
is my vote. Also, I
Interesting.
love Tommy Lee Jones.
I was
Mm.
never overwhelmed with Tron. Also, Men in Black 3 is the best movie ever just because it has Josh Brolin doing a Tommy Lee Jones impression for 90 minutes. And it's awesome. So
Now, hey, Jason, you're muted, so you might be saying things.
I've been saying a lot.
God
Gosh, dang it.
you thought we were
I
all
was
just
wondering
being
why
jerks.
nobody was like, God bless a reference.
I'm kind of torn. I really enjoy
Tron.
Tron. I'm kind of torn, but I also both of those are super nostalgic for me.
Men in Black.
I'm going to
Also,
Men in
he
Black.
names their child Rip with your last name being Torn.
I think it's a pseudonym.
A pseudonym?
What's our vote? Who's
Pseudonym.
voting? Who else for what?
Let's vote. Okay, so hands for Men in Black.
I mean, I like Men in Black. Like,
So we
I
got-
think all three of them are good. I
we
think
got-
all three of them are good, which is rare. They
Okay.
don't need to make another post.
Do we
Yeah.
have a fourth? Christian, Brittany, Jason?
No,
So Jason's firmly on
Tron.
Tron.
I like Tron.
He's old.
Tron.
He was 3
Ooh,
when the movie came out.
Brittany.
I'm scared. I don't know. I just really like when I think science. To me, if I'm looking at both of those and I think old school science fiction, I think of Tron. Tron would be what I gravitate toward. But Men in Black was so fun.
Mhm. I think it's only fair. I gave you Alien. You give me Men in Black.
Okay, you know what? That is fair. That's fair.
Men
That
in
is
Black
fair.
it is.
That is fair. I
No.
cannot
We didn't give
deny.
you.
I cannot deny this.
No, hang on. We did not give. It was a coin toss, was it not?
No, that was the second one. I
No,
gave it
that
to
was the
him.
second
Oh,
one.
all right.
We're not gonna
Okay,
have
fair
another
enough.
Kirby situation. Nick and
here
I,
all
we're
night.
gonna. It's
Oh,
a
I
give
can
and
go
take
back to that.
relationship.
As someone who has bought a Switch since that conversation happened and who has played Super Smash Brothers religiously, Kirby is still a let me tell you right now.
Wow.
There's your cold open, Corey.
Good Lord.
I'm sorry. Obviously, don't use that. Bleep me, please.
No, I will
Sir?
bleep that.
Yes.
Yeah, late night Nick. Here you go.
Right, late. Nick at night.
Nick
Nick
at
at
Night.
Night.
There we go.
Okay.
Wow, watch
That
us
could be a
get sued.
series. That could be a series called Nick at Night, where Nick just rants about
I'm just ranting and cussing
yes, about
video
whatever.
game characters
Next to a raging fireplace.
with a glass of brandy. No, it has to be me and Josh if it's that. In our smoking jacket.
Ooh, now that's a new show idea.
Oh, and I could incorporate my theater, and I could be the flames in the background.
No, I need you are very much alive, but you're the tiger rug.
Yeah, the bear
Sitting on
rug.
the floor. Yeah. You're
Anytime,
very much alive, and you're blinking. You're blinking and breathing like normal. You're just
and anytime
going
one
there
of you
for an
makes a
hour.
point, I go rawr.
God.
Ways to get kicked off YouTube.
Right? Yeah.
Or to have your following explode.
Yes.
One of the two.
Truth.
All right, so Men in Black moves on to the next round. So now we have the Dark Knight trilogy versus the prequel Star Wars
Dark Knight.
trilogy.
Dark Knight.
Yeah, right?
Dark
I mean,
Knight.
that's easy, right? Do you have any votes for the prequel Star Wars trilogy?
I liked them.
I was
know
gonna say,
people don't like
I
them.
like
There was
them.
one
I like
to.
them.
Yeah.
I like
I thought-
them, but
I thought episode 3 was like much more important than I think he gets credit for.
Yeah.
And I as a film, I thought it was fantastic.
mhm.
Episode 2 and episode 1 was okay. Pod racing was cool. Episode 3, I think, was super important just to the longevity of the entire series.
Mhm.
But Dark Knight, I mean, Chris Nolan,
Yeah.
Dark Knight.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I have to ask this because this is my biggest problem with episode 3. I have a lot of them, but here's my biggest one. Obi-Wan Kenobi cut the legs and arm off Anakin and left him on fire.
Mhm.
Why did he grab his lightsaber and leave him? That is the coldest thing I have seen anybody do in a movie. Like, why not kill him? Why not put him out of his misery? Why just let him catch on fire and supposedly, as far as he knew, die? That, to me, it was stupid.
I
yeah,
mean,
but you clearly just never experienced that level of disappointment in someone.
I don't know if I'd let anybody just. You've disappointed me so much. I'm going to leave you on fire.
I
Yes.
have a guess. It's the
Okay.
outward representation of how he feels on the inside. He feels like he's been wounded and left to suffer. So he has reflected that in the way that he has done Anakin. Because Anakin was basically like a son to him, in a sense.
You are my brother, Anakin.
Yeah.
And
I
don't
don't
forget
know.
the younglings.
Yeah, he also rage
But
murdered
why
like
not
a
just-
jillion children.
Yeah,
Why not
so
just straight up kill him then?
That's
and
too
his
dark.
wife. As
That's
far as
not
he
what-
knew, he just
Yeah.
murdered his wife too.
not what
Yeah.
Jedi's do.
What are you talking about?
Some people just need to be burned. Okay, and Anakin was one of them.
I
The
mean,
plot-
okay,
the
every
plot.
time, okay, when Luke Skywalker uses his lightsaber to deflect the blaster beams, they go back and they hit the stormtroopers and he kills them.
Okay, hold on.
He does it right.
Are you going to use Luke nephew murdering Skywalker to defend your argument?
What I'm saying, no, he just said Jedi don't kill. Okay,
Oh, no.
Obi-Wan clearly did a lot of killing during the Clone Wars.
Luke killing his nephew while he's sleeping.
He didn't kill
Skywalker.
him. He didn't.
He was
had
going
a-
to. He was
He
100%
did
going
not.
to.
But then he stopped. Then he didn't.
Okay, but
He said
Okay.
for a
Was
brief
the-
second.
the
As
action
far as
was
legal
there.
arguments go, I don't know.
Anyway, I'm just saying that was where Revenge of the Sith finally lost me. Like I was giving
Well, the
it
good
like
news is there's
credit.
only like 15 minutes after that. So
I mean,
For
that's
the
where it
majority
happens.
of the
just
movie.
as a
was-
movie.
No, I'm all for that drama.
Yeah.
Leave
And
him
that
there.
damn
Leave
lightsaber
him
fight
there.
on the volcano was way too long. Way
But
too
it was
long.
all,
No.
it's the
I was
launches
like,
you
end
into
it
the
Hey, man.
already.
Hey man, I just
Come on.
want to let you know that the best part of the movie was way too long.
Right, yeah, I mean,
Just cut it out. Just cut it out.
Yeah, I
It's
no, I mean
garbage.
like edit it a little bit more.
Oh,
Anyway,
it was the best
no.
part. It was
So anyway.
it was
Duel of the
okay.
Fates.
of the movie was
Jay,
that.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Duel of the
Jason,
Fates was the song from the first prequel movie.
we had to
whatever.
get him in the
Yeah.
suit.
'Cause
Okay,
it's
that's
called Duel of the Fates.
at the end of the
Then
day.
do
That's
it
what
better. I don't know how you do it better, but do it better.
How could that
I'm
be
sorry.
any
Are you
better?
telling John Williams to do better?
Let me just
No,
email
you said
him.
you said get him in the
Yeah,
suit.
right.
You said get him in the suit. I said do better with that.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the
Yeah,
music
no,
still, and I was like,
John
we need to
Williams
turn
was the only
Jason off.
consistently wonderful thing out of everything.
This just got heated for no reason.
I know, you're actually
We had
arguing for a
already
movie
picked-
that's already
yeah,
lost. Like
that we
it's
lost.
I just, all right,
Like,
fine. I'll
this
shut
is-
up.
This is the craziest.
like we've already decided Dark Knight, right? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
Yes, Dark Knight.
All right.
But-
Okay.
but that
Now
third
here's
Star
the
Wars
thing where
movie-
the Dark Knight Rises lost me.
okay.
When he took the damn nuclear ball out to the sea. Okay, I'll shut up.
That did take too long, though.
Okay, moving on.
Not way more than 2 minutes.
All right, so with the Dark Knight moving on, we have the Fox X-Men film franchise versus the Transformers franchise.
I
Fox
was
X-Men.
unable to
I
pass
mean,
Yeah, it
two.
has to be the X-Men.
Oh, okay. I see.
yeah.
Purely through the Deadpool movies alone.
Yeah, just yeah.
Yeah, Transformers.
Yeah.
was
Amazing Features Past.
The original X-Men movie is one of the early 2000 movies that launched superhero
Mhm.
movies, that made
Yes.
superhero movies
Mhm.
feasible, modern superhero
Yes.
movies feasible.
hmm
Plus you have gems like Logan and
And Deadpool has really redefined like what's a superhero movie.
Facts.
And I like the second Wolverine movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
let's just not
Yeah.
even talk about the first one.
Yeah. And you know, thinking about Transformers, the only thing that I really liked about the Transformers movie was finally seeing a live action Optimus Prime with Peter Cullen voicing it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
it for me.
And for that, we really
So-
only needed one movie. Like it was fine.
Yeah.
I needed like
Yeah.
a 30-minute like TV series, like a short, honestly.
Yeah.
So
All right, so
Yeah.
we're going X-Men.
X-Men.
All right, now we have the
Ooh.
Superman franchise, the OG one, versus Predator.
Mm.
Superman.
Superman.
Yeah, Superman. It's got to be Superman.
That's
I don't
easy.
know if I should vote in this one because I think I'm highly biased on this one.
Wait, this is Get to the Chopper, right?
Yes.
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 Mhm.
Superman.
And the arm flexing meme too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So any votes for Predator on this one?
I mean, don't get me wrong. Predator's amazing. It's one of the Arnold movies, but I mean, it's Superman. It's Christopher Reeve Superman. Come on.
Yeah.
This is
Wait,
another
is
example
Brandon
of
Routh included in this one here?
Bruh.
No, it's a legitimate. I know because I have a Superman collection of movies that came with Superman Returns.
So I was
going
to say, Superman Returns is supposed to be the same Superman.
yeah, it's supposed to be a sequel to Superman 2, essentially.
I'll say yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
does that
okay.
really change the vote?
No.
No,
I
I
like
think Brandon Routh got
Yeah.
done dirty with that one.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Also, I'll
right.
say it. I'll say it out loud. Kevin Spacey was a good Lex Luthor.
Wasn't he?
oh, yeah.
He really
He
was.
was. Yeah.
He really
Yeah.
See,
was.
Corey, more Kevin Spacey fans.
Bring
so
back
what's
House
this
of
next
Cards.
one? What's this next one?
All right, our next matchup is a tough one. It's the Star Trek Next Generation franchise versus the entire MCU.
Okay, I hate to say it, it's
Wow.
not hard. It's the MCU.
It's
I mean, I love Star Trek, but the MCU wins this one.
No, it doesn't.
I would.
TNG, man.
I think Star Trek, honestly. And I say this just because,
TNG.
yes, I think that opened a lot of doors, and I don't know. I mean, MCU is
wait.
cool. I don't know. I think I'm going with.
Okay, are we
okay.
talking? Are we talking the entire Next Generation franchise or just the Next Generation movies?
movies.
MCU.
None of the MCU movies ever made me wonder what a character was going to do. Never once. It might make me wonder how they were going to do something, but like what they were going to do, how things were going to unfold, never made me wonder that.
I am
TNG,
going.
Star Trek does.
I'm going to vote Star Trek. Because I think it's the correct answer.
Well, so we do have already the original Star Trek franchise that's on to the next round.
But like, I don't know that franchise, so that one means much less to me. But I know the Next Generation franchise.
Okay.
And it means it's good, and I like all the characters, and it's memorable. Like I remember it. MCU is like great, but yeah, like Josh said, I mean, we know who's gonna win. Like we get it. We just go to see it because it's the spectacle.
So again, I love the Next Generation. To me, the only standout, like really good movie to me was First Contact. The other ones were kind of for me. And I don't think that the movies in of themselves did much to progress the genre. In fact, the last couple movies for Star Trek kind of put a dampener on Star Trek for a while. So I think it actually hurt the Star Trek franchise. Now Marvel is kind of doing that right now, but they're still a formidable beast right now. I think the Iron Man movie changed everything, and when it culminated with Endgame, and you have videos of just theaters going absolutely bonkers at certain scenes, is really just a visual representation of how much influence the MCU has had on pop culture and audiences. I think between the two and how they've affected the industries and even their own particular IPs, I think MCU wins.
Yeah, I agree. The MCU redefined the Hollywood industry, where I don't think Star Trek Next Generation did.
It's done great, but it's bored me at this point.
Star Trek.
Okay.
Star Trek still also.
Who's got their phone on?
So
How
Christian, I have not heard from you.
I was talking in the kerfuffle, but I would say MCU. Like,
So we're split because I'm voting MCU as well. Flip a coin. All right.
Time.
I mean, I
let's
totally
do-
respect
this
the
the same
movies.
Let me
Like,
try this. Hey
Same
Siri,
one.
pick heads or tails.
No, Jake. Who's got the phone out now?
Ooh.
Mine was on silent though, and Siri picked tails.
Mhm.
Okay,
Same one.
fine.
So wait, this is this quarter is 2014 Arches quarter. I don't know if you can see that. Arches.
Okay,
Anyway, let's do Jason since you had your phone out. Heads or tails?
I will do
Alright.
heads.
So heads for MCU.
Heads for MCU, tails for
What
Star
a-
Trek.
What a teacher thing to say.
I know,
Because
right?
you had your phone out.
wow.
Hold on,
Yeah, I
that
feel
was a
so
bad
called.
spin.
I feel like I should be like up in the front of the classroom right now. Like I will not have my phone out. I will not have a phone out.
If you get a message in Nick's class, you have to read the message out loud.
That heads?
It
Looks
is
like
head.
Cool.
Wait, which
Yeah,
one was
MCU.
that?
Head.
MCU.
He said
MCU is
heads for
heads.
MCU.
Oh, okay.
All right. MCU
And
wins.
I do want to preface that my decision's solely made on the movies, not the shows.
Yes.
Because
Well, yeah, mine too.
I know
Yeah.
that you mentioned Echo, but I'm just
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
putting
enough.
that separation.
Yeah, I know. If we
Ems-
don't get to count TNG the series, we don't get to
Oh
count.
my, yeah.
MCU
Things would, yeah.
series.
TNG,
Yeah.
yeah. TNG, the series would have changed it, honestly, for me.
All right. So now we move on to the next round. We're going back to the top of this side of our bracket. So now we are back to the Lord of the Rings trilogy versus the rebooted Planet of the Apes franchise.
Frodo.
Lord of the Rings.
It's got to be Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, it's got to be
Lord
Lord
of
of
the
the Rings.
That's sad because these Planet of the Apes movies are fantastic.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, I
really
can't
good.
stress that enough. Like,
Right.
please
Planet
go
of the
watch-
Rings.
I'm looking forward to
Lord of
watching
the
them.
Apes.
All right. So Lord of the Rings it is, sadly. I never liked them, but it's fine. So you have Star Trek versus Men in Black.
Star Trek.
Okay.
Star Trek. It's just Star Trek.
Yeah, let's not even waste time on
Are
that
you
Yeah.
one.
leaking, Corey?
It's like somebody punctured Corey.
All right. Now we have the Dark Knight trilogy
Oh.
versus the X-Men franchise.
Oof.
Dark Knight.
Yeah, it's got to be the Dark Knight.
Does it?
All three were
Yeah,
good.
it
Yes,
does.
it does. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
Mm,
Plus, I mean, then
Britt's
okay,
so
for me,
disappointed.
the tiebreaker would be the music. Just throw Hans Zimmer just like on the top. Yeah,
Heath Ledger. Come on.
And
You
he-
said
right,
you
yeah.
were born in the darkness.
Ooh.
Or whatever the words, I don't remember. It will be
You
painful.
adapted. I was born to it.
Yeah,
So I
that
guess
one.
we're saying Dark
Yeah,
Knight.
that,
All
yeah,
right.
that was very good, Nick.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm good at
All
Josh
right.
impressions.
does a good one too.
Or decent at impressions.
All right. So now we have the Superman franchise versus the MCU. DC versus Marvel.
So the question
Superman could
is,
take all of it in real life.
that's what I was going to say. Can Superman beat every character in the MCU?
The only one he might have an issue with.
Thor.
Well, he's always weak against magic.
I was gonna say
So,
Wanda.
Scarlet Witch. Yeah, I bet you. Yeah. Captain Marvel
Yeah.
is pretty powerful too.
I want to say Superman.
It did make me believe that a man could fly.
Mm-hmm.
So Jason, I know you were at odds with yourself.
I am struggling so hard right now. Because I just instinctively want to pick Superman just because Superman. Like it is overwhelming.
We wouldn't have the MCU without Superman.
But here's
There it is.
but I also remember sitting in the theater watching Iron Man 2 years after watching Superman Returns. And when Tony Stark took off flying for the first time, I was like, my thought in the theater was, this is how Superman Returns should have felt. Because it was exhilarating.
You have mentioned that before.
Yeah, I know.
Also, superhero comics wouldn't exist without Superman.
God. Yeah, but are we talking movies or
But
comics?
if we're
Talking
just
movies.
talking, we're just talking movies, though.
Guys, I'm
still saying Superman. Also, I'm just soured on the MCU right now.
Thank you. I kind of feel the exact same way.
okay. Honestly, John Williams has put me over the top on this one, Superman.
As he should.
Christian.
From a true music academic
just turned
over
90 or 91, one of the two.
here. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Still writing music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, I enjoy Superman, but I also enjoyed the MCU, and I don't feel like the exhaustion that we're feeling right now could account for it losing to Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Good for me.
It was really solid prior to these past couple years.
You know, I just remembered Superman 4. Hang on.
Yeah, exactly. Like MCU had some downers, so has Superman. So,
But I mean, yeah, Superman.
oh wow, okay, all right, I'll agree.
Okay. Yeah, that was a hard one.
That's probably one of the hardest ones that we've had.
All right, moving into the
Jason needs a
semifinals.
second.
Hang on.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Hang on.
Mm-mm.
Hang on. I have to recover.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Go. Keep rolling, Corey. Keep rolling. We're rolling.
No, we need to let Jason have his moment.
Needs be
Nearly lost it. Okay. All right.
All right, moving into the semifinals on this side of the bracket, we have the Lord of the Rings trilogy versus Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Lord of the Rings.
Star Trek.
Oh, Jason said Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
If you took Star Trek 2, 3, and 4,
Yeah.
and the rest of the franchise didn't even exist, 2,
Yeah.
3, and 4 would be known as one of the greatest trilogies of all time. Just saying.
So I disagree about 3 and 4. I like 4 very much, but it was a fluff movie.
You're a fluff
It was
movie.
important in so much as it changed our culture's perspective on the environment. And I think it single-handedly saved the whale population. But
Yeah, you know what they did in Lord of the Rings? They cut down a bunch of trees.
yeah, so
There you go.
but they made the trees talk and made you worry about the trees. No,
And then they set them on fire.
and then
Just saying.
and then Search for Spock.
They didn't even
I
get a
didn't,
different
yeah.
actor for Treebeard. It was Gimli. And he didn't even change his voice. Just saying. Laziness.
That
It's laziness,
anyway.
Peter Jackson.
Yeah, I adore Star Trek 6. I adore Star Trek 6. It is, I think, my favorite out of all of them. But again, the influence on the genre, influence on culture, and just for me, pure entertainment versus one franchise versus the other, Lord of the Rings.
I get that.
Boo.
So Star Trek, right? That's
Yeah,
what we're
Star
doing?
Trek.
Okay.
I'm also going Star Trek. All right. So now we have, oh goodness.
Good Lord.
Oh goodness. We have
They
the
literally
Dark
made a movie
Knight
about
trilogy versus the Superman
I'm
franchise.
just gonna rip the Band-Aid off. Dark Knight.
They literally
Yeah.
made a movie about this.
Yeah, Batman
Wasn't
always
good,
wins.
But they made one.
Mhm.
Stop that, Josh. This
The
was hard for
directors-
me, and you did that. And you
Directors-
struck me when I was down.
The director's cut of
Josh.
Batman vs. Superman was good. You should watch that. The 12 minutes
No.
makes a difference. I'm being serious.
It really
It
does.
does.
I'm being
It
so
does.
serious.
It changes
actually.
the entire movie, and it makes it 10 times better.
And it makes you wonder why on earth that was the 12 minutes they cut.
Right. Out of
Like,
everything.
you could cut
and-
anything else. Like, it would have been fine. Anyway, different
But we're not
combo
even
for
talking about
different
that one at all.
day. But factually, Batman always wins. So it has to be Batman.
Stop. You be
Dark Knight.
nice. You be nice.
Any votes for Superman?
I mean, I vote for him because I like him, but
Right. Yeah. I mean,
these are not superior movies.
Wow. All
They're
right.
not. What? Why is that?
No, I mean, hey.
no. You guys are all right. You were all right, and I'm in literal pain. I'm in so much pain right now.
This round has really killed Jason.
Type an RIP
This-
in the comments for Jason.
All right, Dark Knight it is. So now we have Star Trek versus the Dark Knight.
I mean, it's still Star Trek.
I'm going to say Dark Knight.
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna say
say Dark Knight.
I'm gonna say Dark Knight.
No. Christian, what'd you say?
I said Dark Knight.
Oh,
We don't get the legendary battle.
This is interesting.
You all suck.
Josh, do you have
every single one of you.
Now,
Josh,
to
do you
be
have
clear, I love these movies.
It doesn't sound like it, Jason. I feel like you spent a lot of time
But
arguing against these movies.
I mean, it's like which is the worst of two great franchises?
yet again, we're in
Well,
the
that's
final
worse.
four.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so we're saying, Josh, do you have any argument in favor of The Dark Knight versus Star Trek? Or are you purely Star Trek?
No, I think that like a lot of Christopher Nolan movies, we ignore a lot of flaws because they're energetic and well edited. If you really sit down and examine some of these movies, you're like, they actually make no sense at all. But Star Trek,
Yeah.
like it is Star Trek. Most modern anything from an entertainment standpoint would not exist without Star Trek.
I
I'm
agree.
going to argue that it's the series that has made more impact than the movies.
And where did the movies
Next
come from,
Generation-
Jason?
But that's what
And
we're
that
talking
that
about.
can that can totally like it's totally valid statement, but does that mean that it's better than something else?
Yes.
In the sense, okay. I mean, you're
Explain.
entitled to that, yeah.
I like these games. We get feisty.
So we're saying The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
Dark
Y'all,
Sorry,
y'all are
Josh.
saying The Dark Knight.
I'm
It's fine.
sorry. Listen, you guys voted out my thing, okay?
This is true. This is true.
What was your thing?
Dark.
I forget, but it was
Wait.
one of them.
Can we do this first? Can we do this first, young Corey? Since Josh was going to choose Star Trek, what would have been your final, Joshua, between Star Wars and Star Trek? Like, who would you have picked to win?
It's still Star Trek. And this could be an entire episode, but it all comes back to what Jason could have made a t-shirt from, which is that at the end of the day, Star Trek is science fiction,
Mhm.
whereas Star Wars is science fantasy. It's Lord of the Rings in space.
Mhm.
And I prefer the logic and the science. Star Trek makes an effort to make everything feel like it could happen. Star Wars things work just because they work. And that's fine. Like that's the thing. I think people sometimes think I don't like Star Wars. I love Star Wars. But as an adult, the idea of a world that we could achieve if we would just pull our heads collectively out of our asses, that's a beautiful thing that we should all strive for. And that is something that is not missing from any of the movies. It may not be as prescient as it should be, as we would like it to be, but yeah, Star Wars is just fun. It's fluffy and it's fun, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's popcorn versus substance. So
I agree with Josh on that. I would pick Star Trek over Star Wars.
I mean,
I
we
mean,
do
honestly,
have
I
people
would as
working on a
well.
lightsaber these days.
What?
We do have people working on a lightsaber these days.
Didn't Disney make one? Like an actual working lightsaber?
Sort of. Yeah.
No, it was
yeah,
there
you can
was
get it
some
at Disney
guy
World
on
for like
YouTube.
$120.
There was some guy on YouTube that like was actually prototyping one.
With like a
Forget-
plasma.
Yeah, like a
Yeah,
plasma
it was
or
screen.
like
something.
like
Yeah.
a legitimate. Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's not end world hunger or anything. Let's make a
Make a
laser
freaking
sword.
lightsaber, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
and
make a
to
lightsaber.
Josh's point, with also Star Wars being fluff and Star Trek being science fiction, I think Star Wars started losing its real charisma as a franchise when people were trying to make everything work and fit in a scientific way instead of just letting it
Jar
be.
Jar
It
Binks.
was better when it just was. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
when it had
Just
more
let
of the
it be.
mysticism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's
Like
space magic.
we like
Yeah.
I don't like as soon
Space
as they
magic.
started like putting midichlorians in. Now I understand that midichlorians and the wills and whatever that was supposed to be part of
Don't
it
defend
anyway.
midichlorians. Don't
No.
defend
I'm not.
midichlorians. No,
Like I
no, don't do
understand that it
that.
was supposed to be part of it, but it was better without it. And like when they started saying like it was what was in your blood versus a belief, that's when they started losing it. So anyway, but
All
Now
right.
to
So
our final.
yes, to the right.
Eat Sleep Nerd, for the record, is anti midichlorian. Just so everyone knows.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into this final round, let's do a little recap. So, back in round 1, we had Jurassic Park win out over RoboCop. We had Aliens win out over the recent Star Trek trilogy. We had Mad Max win out over the sequel Star Wars trilogy. We had Harry Potter win out over the recent Godzilla franchise. We had the OG Star Wars trilogy win out over Back to the Future. We had Terminator win out over Blade Runner. We had the original Planet of the Apes franchise win out over the Hobbit trilogy. And we had The Matrix win out over the Hunger Games. Then in the next round, we had Aliens win out over Jurassic Park. We had Mad Max win out over Harry Potter. We had the OG Star Wars trilogy win out over Terminator. And we had The Matrix win out over the OG Planet of the Apes franchise. And then in the next round, we had Star Wars, the OG trilogy, win out over Aliens to make it into the final 2. And then back in round 1 on the other side of the bracket, we had Lord of the Rings win out over the DCEU. We had the rebooted Planet of the Apes franchise win out over the M. Night Shyamalan Unbreakable trilogy.
Shyamalan.
We had the original Star Trek franchise win out over what is that? 2001 Space Odyssey. We had Men in Black win out over Tron. We had The Dark Knight win out over the sequel Star Wars trilogy. And we had the X-Men franchise win out over the Transformer franchise. We had Superman win out over Predator. And we had the MCU win out over Star Trek The Next Generation. In the next round, we had Lord of the Rings win out over the rebooted Planet of the Apes franchise. We had Star Trek, the original franchise, went out over Men in Black. We had The Dark Knight went out over X-Men, and we had Superman went out over the MCU. And then making it into the final 4.
This is where we blew it.
Oh, no.
He's been waiting to say that. He's like, waiting, boom.
Yeah.
We had Star Trek, the original franchise, went out over Lord of the Rings. The Dark Knight went out over Superman. All right.
Sorry, this is where we blew it.
And
I was wondering ahead.
Yeah. And then making it into the final 2, we had the Dark Knight trilogy win out over Star Trek.
Questionable.
We're going to get so many comments.
We are.
So now in the final matchup, we have the original Star Wars trilogy versus the Dark Knight trilogy.
I mean, do we have to ask?
I mean,
well, okay, let's not jump to conclusions here.
It's Star Wars.
Let's not jump to conclusions here.
It's Star Wars.
Is Star Wars just the vote because it's nostalgic and like it was the OG like science fiction thing? Like
most of this that we're looking at, most of these images that we're looking at would not be here if it were not for Star Wars.
I was waiting for that phrase because we've been saying it for forever.
Yep.
Yes.
Is it bad? Is it bad for me to not completely care about that?
No,
because I agree
What's your
with you.
thoughts? What's your thoughts? What you got?
Because it feels like you're making me want to feel bad about it. I'm just kidding. No, like
I mean, you can be wrong all you like, Nick.
See what I mean?
No.
That's my point. So I feel like I'm just going to interject because I'm on top of the list right here, so I'm just going to go first. I think that it's Dark Knight. I think that Star Wars, the original trilogy, is incredible, and I think that it has its place in history, and I think that it's vital to cinema and vital to storytelling. But I think Dark Knight, for me, holds up a little bit more. It just holds up a little bit more. I don't know that I can actually defend that argument, but it holds up to me as a viewer, as someone who prefers that kind of movie over a Star Wars, which, you know, in some ways are similar, in some ways are different. But I mean, The Dark Knight by itself, I think is a better movie than any of the three of those, any of the three of the Star Wars movies, in my opinion, in so many ways. So I choose the Dark Knight trilogy over Star Wars.
I admire your courage, sir.
I mean, it's very valid.
Yeah, and valid. Yeah, valid points. But that's like just your opinion, man.
Somewhere in the Star Wars trilogy here, there's, like Nick was saying, they're very classic. It has its point in history. But as a movie, critically, there are some things in the movies that are pacing wise that are just all right, let's move it along. Get it? We're into the story. Let's go. And in a modern standpoint, The Dark Knight, visually, storytelling, all of that feels real good as a collective. I would have to say Dark Knight over Star Wars.
Can I add one more point, Christian, to that?
Yes.
I think Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and Batman, what is it, Beyond? What the hell's the name of that
Batman
movie?
Beyond.
Dark Knight
Dark Knight
Rises.
Rises.
Dark Knight Rises. I feel like it's a complete story. Like it's done. Like it started. He had his biggest foe, and then he had the thing that made him retire. That he was done. Like I feel like that saga is done. Like there's nothing else to add. Regardless of how you feel about the ending of it. And Star Wars, you can ask all these questions. What happened before? How did Vader turn into Vader? What happened after? I think the Dark Knight is just done, and it had a perfect. Oh, it's a perfect. It had a bow on it, and it was there was no more after that, and we knew how he started.
Yeah, especially now,
I think it's a perfect trilogy.
With the Star Wars universe, we're dealing with a universe. So now people are asking questions like, what's happening in this part of the universe or in another universe? And now that we've seen in, what was the most recent one? Ahsoka. They went to another universe. Now there's a whole nother universe to explore. So it's it's fun to keep expanding on the thing, but where does it end? And kind of like the MCU, where are we going to stop at, Like Nick said, the Dark Knight had a very finite end. And that's cool. And that feels comfortable.
See, I'm agreeing with all of your sentiments. I actually kind of think The Dark Knight is a more solid trilogy of films.
Because it is.
Can I interject?
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I disagree because whenever these films were made and they came out, that was the whole point of Star Wars at the end, to sort of leave it open-ended and for us to ask these questions, for us to create our own stories and our own galaxies far, far away and our own theories. I do agree that, the Dark Knight series is a completed trilogy, but there's no imagination in that for me. It's like reading a book series. It's extremely cut and dry for me. Whereas with Star Wars, you ask these questions and you come up with your own theories. There's more of a fantasy aspect to that, which space fantasy, I absolutely love the idea of that. I enjoy the Dark Knight series because, grew up reading comics and stuff, and so it was really cool, and I think it's well done and everything, but again, and it is complete, but at the end of the day, for me personally, when I'm watching movies and stuff like this, I'm a writer first and foremost, so I love to come up with my own theories and my own universes and my own things. And I think that even for a modern audience, Star Wars holds up to that, and that's why it's so nostalgic and such a cult classic, because even though we have all of these shows and other movies and sequels and prequels, whether they're good or bad, they're Christmas special. At the end of the day,
we don't talk about that.
At the end of the day, we can still play pretend, if that makes sense. And for me, whenever I'm watching films like that, it's to escape and to play pretend in that sense and come up with my own theories and come up with my own analogies and take my own things from it where it's not so cut and dry. So if you like a cut and dry series like the Dark Knight trilogy, I totally get it. To me, if you like that, it would be a superior thing. For me personally, though, it's Star Wars, not because of nostalgia, just because when I was younger and I was watching it, I wanted more, and I wanted to know the answers to those things, and I wanted to be taken to that world in a sense. It is an escapism. I'm not looking for escapism with The Dark Knight. So that's like me personally, I would pick Star Wars for that purpose.
I think Britt's argument wins.
That's like the smartest thing I've said all week. Just saying.
Now she needs a break.
Should have to hibernate for another week.
Or now.
I think we can all agree that obviously the original Star Wars trilogy has done, unmeasurable things as a film franchise for films. Like it's iconic, but it's also industry defining. It paved so many roads for future franchises. You can't beat that.
It's inspired so many. Not saying that The Dark Knight doesn't inspire people. Okay, Batman inspires so many people. But for a lot of the people who have created these other films that we've voted on and stuff, Star Wars was like their staple starting point because it turned their gears in the mind of the sense of what would happen if, or what if, or how is this possible? And I mean, whether you like the prequels or the sequels or not, at the end of the day, the original trilogy, it stood the test of time in the sense of it inspires us to ask those questions, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. So
I'm done.
any
I'm sorry.
final arguments before we do a final vote on this one?
The Dark Knight trilogy cut out all the coolest parts of Batman. They did. They did. The whole point of Batman was that it was a regular guy pushing himself beyond the limit to exist and defeat and be better than supernatural beings. And Christopher Nolan said, okay, but what if it was, stay with me here, a regular dude against other regular dudes? It's like you completely remove the fantasy part of it. I could be that version of Batman if I just had enough money.
I think
The
that's
real
fine,
version
though.
of Batman,
I mean,
I couldn't.
let the other movies have that. I think this version of that is fine. Like
No.
this version of Batman is fine.
No.
We've already we
No.
went through the late 80s and 90s with the fantasy Batman, and this one is the down to earth Batman, the rugged down to earth rich Batman.
Boo.
All right, let's do a vote. Show of hands for the Dark Knight franchise and get them centered for me. Jason, what?
I've been sitting here thinking,
That's dangerous.
and Christian and Nick made some really good points, and I love Star Wars.
All right, Christian. Jason can come to the cookout.
Cool.
Well,
You bring the potato salad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But I think they made some
make the
solid
potato
arguments.
salad,
And I hate to reiterate something that Josh said earlier, but Batman always wins.
That is the cheapest cop out
Oh.
ever.
but it wasn't when I said it.
Batman always wins. Listen, that was like between Batman and Superman. Okay, that's like an age-old battle. But this is like the big Batman always wins.
No, they made
I mean,
some
don't
really
get me
good
wrong.
points.
If
Yeah.
Star Wars
Yeah.
has to lose, losing to Batman is not bad.
Yeah. But the problem
No,
is
it's
we're
not the
tied.
end of the
Yeah,
world.
Well,
But
are we? Are we?
Oh, are
But now
we?
here's
Oh.
the question: does Batman win again in a fight with Palpatine?
That is not the
No.
question.
No, 'cause
That
he's
is
in
not the question.
space.
Okay.
Batman would lose. Against
Does he-
Palpatine.
That's
He's have
the
supernatural
Palpatine.
beings.
the question is, does he have prep time?
No.
Of course, he's Batman.
Yeah, he
Okay,
has to
so
breathe first.
Valid.
All right. So we have Jason, Nick, and Christian for The Dark Knight. We have Britt and Josh for Star Wars. I have not yet voted yet.
Mhm.
So
Not yet. Yes.
Not yet.
Yes, not yet.
Yeah, that'll get him to vote with you. Make fun of him. Good
Yeah.
job, Corey. You're the best man.
Corey's so done with all of us at this point.
my vote can't be bought.
Like Corey,
So
today.
So, I obviously did not grow up with the original trilogy. I do remember watching them when I was little.
You did too, because I was watching them nonstop.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was not alive when they came out, but I remember watching them when I was little.
Okay. Now I understand what you're saying. Because we
Yes.
went through 2 sets of VHSs on those
Yeah.
things.
I enjoyed the Dark Knight series more. Dark Knight wins.
It wins.
The Dark Knight
wins.
wins.
This
In
didn't
the-
go how I thought it was going to go. It's
Not
very
at
weird.
all.
Yeah,
Not at
that
all.
was
But you know what? I expected something like this to happen because it's us. So
Wow, she thinks it's rigged. Stop the steal. Wow.
everyone can support me in the comments. Thank you.
Wow.
No, I mean, if Star Wars was gonna lose to something, I would like for it to lose to something like the Dark Knight trilogy because it's a really good series.
Yeah, this
Who
is not
saw
a
this
hands
coming?
down win, by the way. This is like
This
like
was
by points.
definitely a struggle win.
yeah.
Okay, hold on. So I mean, okay. I don't hate how this ended up. I do.
Yeah.
I do hate it. But
Right.
I would like to redo this, maybe with fewer franchises, but you get to include every piece of media attached to it. It is
I
not
like that.
exclusive. It is not exclusive just to the movies or whatever.
That would 100% change.
Exactly. That's what I'm
a lot
saying.
of my
It's
votes.
like,
Yeah.
and so I mean, like, you get to include shows, you get to include comics, you get to include what is the best franchise. Period.
Okay.
Yeah. I like
Stay
that.
tuned.
You gotta do that when in person in the new studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We need to do that in the lounge.
Yeah.
All right. So you have right here the ultimate sci-fi film franchise, Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy, beating out in a surprise win the original Star Wars trilogy.
Still doesn't
Look
feel
at
right.
Brittany down there just shaking her head like, no.
Wow.
It doesn't feel right. But okay.
It doesn't feel right, but at the same time, it's. I think it's correct.
Is it?
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
You
I
guys
mean,
comment.
it-
let
it-
us know.
Right.
It's like
Tell
stepping on a
us. Tell
ball
us
in your-
why. Tell us why me and Britt are right, and we go from there.
Okay.
All right. Yes.
All
Leave
right.
some comments, but also over on YouTube, youtube.com/@eatsleepnerd. Click subscribe. Click the like buttons.
Right.
Share us with
Right.
your friends.
Share.
YouTube.com/eatsleepnerd.com
/eatsleepnerd.com.
Asleep nerd.
At us.
Eat Sleep Nerd
Brett.
forever and ever.
Good. She's paying attention.
Now
Christian.
that we have done this entire bracket, what should nerds be doing before they check out the rest of our videos?
Well, before they completely cancel us over Star Wars losing to the Dark Knight,
Wow.
I think that everyone should really find it deep in their hearts to eat sleep nerd.
Take it easy, people.